Welcome back to Red and Blue. I'm Major Garrett. Speaker Kevin McCarthy, as you no doubt know, has drawn some pretty intense criticism for recently giving Fox News host Tucker Carlson January 6th security footage. McCarthy is defending that decision, saying this footage would be scrutinized before being made public and that he plans on giving other networks and journalists access to it, quote, as soon as possible, unquote. Speaker has not said when that will be. New York Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman joins us now. Congressman, Speaker McCarthy, as you well know, has released or made available in some nebulous way some 40,000 hours plus of security footage from the Capitol and inside the Capitol on January 6th to Fox News primetime editorialist Tucker Carlson. Are you satisfied that you know exactly how much has been viewed and the ultimate implications of that viewing process?
No, we Democrats were not consulted on this at all. This was done unilaterally by the Speaker, who didn't even consult with the Capitol Police about the release of these thousands and thousands of hours of surveillance footage, which, you know, not only will provide a lot of footage, but will also provide a roadmap for anyone who wants to understand what kind of surveillance there is of the Capitol in the event that they want to do something nefarious once again. And I think the fact that the Speaker gave this material to the #1 January 6th denier on television, Tucker Carlson, is very noteworthy. I'm not sure whether it's the Speaker's idea or whether this was part of the backroom deal that he had to make in order to get elected Speaker, but it just goes to show how extremist the Republican Party is right now.
So if it's in the hands of Tucker Carlson and the associates, would you prefer it now to be open source for everyone?
Yeah, I mean, with proper protocols, I actually don't think this should just be released to the public. I think what the January 6th committee did is they had very specific and restrictive protocols on when and how and whether these materials could be reviewed. It should not be disseminated to anyone, and I think that there need to be very rigorous protocols to protect the safety and security of the Capitol.
Republicans have now, in reaction to some of the backlash, said, well, things aren't going to be released that would expose sensitive security areas or means of leaving the Capitol in times of an emergency. Do you believe them?
I have no reason to believe that they are going to go through all of the footage themselves to weed out and edit out those, those hours of videos that would reveal the sensitive information. The point is, if you're going to review the video surveillance, you're going to figure out where it is coming from. So I don't really understand how they can pick and choose what they're going to give to Tucker Carlson in order to shield that information. It doesn't actually make any sense.
This is a related question on a related topic. One of Kevin McCarthy's senior aides and the House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer met this week with the mother of Ashley Babbitt, who was shot and killed by Capitol Police on January 6th. Your thoughts on those meetings? Do you find anything untoward or alarming about them?
Yeah, the whole sort of mythical creation of Ashley Babbitt as a martyr is a total false flag and offensive to those in the Capitol that day. She not only invaded the Capitol, but was trying to jump across a barrier in order to continue on. And it was found that the police officer who had to use defensive kinetic firing in order to respond to her was completely justified in doing so. So Ashley Babbitt tragically died, and no one is happy about that. But this is not someone who, was a perfectly good actor that was warrantlessly killed. And so, yes, I mean, the fact that this continues to be perpetuated by the far reaches of the Republican Party just goes to show the lack of seriousness and the lack of understanding that they have about what occurred on January 6th.
Let me mention a part of the federal code, the Hatch Act, and a name, Kellyanne Conway. What do they have to do with one another?
Well, yesterday we were marking up in the Oversight Committee a completely unnecessary and unwarranted bill about prohibiting the federal government from censoring individuals, which, of course, is better known as the First Amendment. And I raised the issue that if we actually are going to try to stop abuses of power by federal officials, we ought to focus on the Hatch Act, which was abused wantonly by the Trump administration, including Kellyanne Conway more than 60 times. And she had the gall to say, in response to a recommendation by the investigators that she be fired, that she was not going to worry about the Hatch Act until there was a jail sentence that was included with it. So I introduced an amendment yesterday that would add prison sentences for a violation of the Hatch Act if it is knowing and intentional and likely would have to be repeated, as hers was, to add some teeth to a law that was completely abused by the Trump administration.
In response to your press release on that amendment, Kellyanne Conway called you, I can spit it out, I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a semi-trained broadcast professional. Kellyanne Conway called you a crappy lawyer and a creepy stalker. Care to respond?
Well, looks like I hit a nerve.
Do you expect that amendment to prevail on the floor?
It didn't get through committee
It didn't get through
yesterday.
committee. Okay, got it. All right. So that matter is settled for the time being.
Yeah, but, you know, what I am optimistic about, even though, you know, Chairman Comer has seemed to go down a rabbit hole with some of these investigations and conspiracy theories, is he did indicate to both in our hearing and to me personally that he would like to discuss reforms to the Hatch Act. And so I look forward to that. I think there do need to be reforms, and I hope to work with Chairman Comer on that.
Congressman Dan Goldman, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Major.